All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started just for the sake of time. So welcome everyone to the Neighborhood Engagement Toolkit session 1. We'll be talking about community assessments today. And I'd just like to introduce myself. So my name is Logan Pace. I am the Community Initiatives Coordinator at NYC Service. And I am joined today by Luis Hayes Taveras, Jennifer Ramirez, and Kira Sutton Agnew, all from NYC Service. And I just want to go over a few housekeeping rules. So if everyone could please mute your microphones and turn on your cameras, that would be great. Also include your organization name and your title in your title box. And feel free to ask any questions throughout the presentation in the Q&A box. And we're going to try to get to most of the questions at the end of the presentation, just for the sake of time. It would also be helpful to have a pen and paper ready for our reflection activities and our breakout group. And just for your awareness today, our session is going to be recorded, and that's just for our partners that were unable to make it to today's session. So to go over our agenda for today, so we have our welcome and introductions, and then we'll have an NYC Service overview, as well as some information on our website. We will talk about our upcoming AmeriCorps programming. And then the session today will cover understanding your community, self-assessment, and making a plan, and envisioning the path forward. And then, as I mentioned, we will go over questions at the end of the presentation. So for today's session, our objectives really are to evaluate your external strengths and limitations. So not only your organizational strengths and limitations, but also looking at the community as a whole. And then we'll look more internally at strengths and limitations as well, and the assets that you bring to your community as an organization. And then we'd also like for you to be able to engage your community in this process and to walk away with a framework for starting a conversation with community and organizational stakeholders. And now to give a bit of background on NYC Service. So who are we? NYC Service is a division of the Mayor's Office focused on expanding civic engagement through volunteerism and service. And our mission is to provide meaningful access, opportunity, and resources for communities to really come together and answer the call to serve New York City. And our vision in that is for all New Yorkers to be united by service and to build a culture where we uplift one another and take responsibility for the success of our city. And now we're going to give a bit of an overview on our website. And so I will hand it over to Jennifer Ramirez, who is our Digital Engagement Coordinator.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet you. I'm Jennifer, and I'm going to be talking about one of NYC Service's greatest tools where you can reach out and get more volunteers to support your projects. We have our NYC Service website, which its URL is nyc.gov/service. It's been recently revamped, and we have a lot of important features that you can use. Registration for your organization would take less than 5 minutes, so it's a very easy process. And now I'm going to speak on some facts and statistics of our website to show you the engagement, which is pretty high. For example, we have 4,500 weekly visitors, 80 volunteers registering daily, 27 users every hour, 543 registered organizations, and 175 current volunteer opportunities, and 37 in-kind donation requests from these organizations. What this means is that once you're registered and you have a profile on this site and you upload your opportunities, you'll be sure to have a lot of eyes on your organization, and you'll have a lot of people signing up to support these projects. Now I'm gonna actually show you what it looks like. I'm gonna share my screen. So the registration option, once you log onto our page, is going to be right here. You're going to click. It takes less than 5 minutes. You just have to make sure that your organization's projects are based in New York City and that you have a federal EIN number. Once you've filled out the registration, it's going to take us from 1 to 3 business days to approve of your profile. And then you will be able to have access to the partner portal. Just going to give you a brief overview of our homepage. In the Serve tab is where most of our volunteers are gonna look for your opportunities, and we have filters where they can search based on impact area, location, or the population that they want to serve. And this organizations tab is where you will be clicking to access our partner portal. This partner portal is where you're going to be able to create your volunteer opportunities, where you're going to be able to manage your volunteers. You can even email them through here. So you click on create volunteer opportunity. You go through this whole form. And once you submit, it also goes through a approval process of 1 to 3 days, and it will be live on our site. I'm going to show you what that's going to look like. So here you're going to be able to, this is what the volunteer is going to see when they come across your opportunity, which is important that you fill out the issue area and the population you're serving so that they can more easily find your opportunity when they're looking up through the filters. When you go to your contacts, this is where you're going to be able to see everybody who signed up for your opportunity and easily email them if there's been an update in this opportunity and you need to alert them, as well as just reaching out for any other issues. You're going to see all the locations for your opportunities, and you're going to see all the information of your org, which is editable. And you can also give multiple people access to this portal. If you request it, you will be able to have other people from your organization manage these opportunities as well. So now that I've shown you how to navigate this portal, I highly encourage you to create an organization account if you haven't. Thank you.
We have a question in the chat. Is there a cost to register your organization?
No, this tool is absolutely free for you to use. There's no cost tied to creating an account and uploading your opportunities.
And one more question before we move on to Kira's portion. Is there a way to receive emails when people sign up for your opportunities?
Yes, so as soon as someone signs up or expresses interest and opportunity, our system automatically triggers an email to you where you'll be able to see who has signed up, and you will be able to either confirm them or deny them for that opportunity.
For any questions towards Jennifer, she will put her email address on the chat and you can reach out to her directly.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kiara Sutton Agnew. I'm one of the program associates for our national service programs. And today I'll be talking about we have 4 national service programs. We have New York City Service Corps, we have New York City Civic Corps, we have NYCHA Health Corps, and then we also have New York City Vista. But today I'll be focusing on mostly just New York City Civic Corps and also NYCHA Health Corps. Those 2 programs both are for nonprofit organizations. If you're looking to be part of a host site for members to volunteer at your host sites, I think that would be the best option. So, so for Civic Core, we are looking to grow stronger volunteer just programs and just build off of what your organization is already doing. And then for NYCHA Health Corps, those members are NYCHA residents who are looking to also do the same thing. You know, mostly basically focus more so on public health. So if those two programs are something that you're interested in, I would definitely encourage you all to apply for members at our New York City service website. The website is here. And also if you have any questions, you can also reach out to our service recruitment at cityhall.nyc.gov. And I'm also just going to go over some benefits for your host sites. As a host site, you have the opportunity to mentor members as well as just give them a space in order to grow, as well as and the members are also benefiting the programs because they're also adding to your capacity. Now, some member benefits, members are receiving a stipend. They're also receiving Metro cards, healthcare and childcare reimbursement. And they also have a student loan forbearance and an education award at the end of the program once they've completed it. And just and everything is on this chart here. So if you can quickly take a picture of that, but this is all on the website in more detail. And again, please apply. Here it says the application deadline was the 8th, but it has now been extended to the 23rd of February. Yeah, that's pretty much it from my end. And again, if you have any questions about recruitment process, you can reach out to Joanne. She's our recruitment guru at servicerecruitment@cityhall.nyc.gov. Thank you.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind just putting her email in the chat, that would be great.
Will do.
All right. And so now we'll get into Neighborhood Engagement Toolkit Session 1. So to kick it off today, we're going to be talking about understanding your community. And the key takeaways from this section are to be able to surface your community needs and challenges, as well as uncovering your community strengths and assets. And we have a couple of engagement tools. So we have an assessment tool and then mapping your community assets as well. So understanding your community. As many of you are probably very aware, each community is completely unique and comes with its own history and culture and dynamics. And you really want to be able to understand these factors to ensure that you are able to meet your community where they are and that your engagement strategies are as relevant and effective as possible. So thinking about how your community needs have changed in recent years, maybe how your organization has adapted to those changes. We're also going to talk about establishing a constant feedback loop with your community. So you're able to, bring awareness to those voices of people who are key stakeholders within the community. So surfacing community needs and challenges. What does that mean? So ultimately, that means that you are connecting with your community members to shed light on issues or gaps. And a way to go about this is through, various tools, but just a couple. So community forums, surveying as well, and that goes along with canvassing your community, as well as just simply active listening. So these are all effective ways to understand your community's needs. And through that process, you're able to establish maybe what has gone well in the past and what maybe has not gone so well. So something to think about is, what has not gone well in the past so that you can learn from that experience going forward. So community canvassing, for example, might not be effective for every neighborhood. Some neighborhoods may be more resistant to that type of engagement. And so just really thinking about what's worked for you in the past and what has not. And that's where surfacing these needs comes into play. And when you're engaging with the community, you want to make sure that your community members really feel like they're a part of the process. So to make someone feel like they are a part of the process, you want to get a local level of understanding. So this might mean talking to individuals that you don't often hear from. An example of that could be older adults. So it's very common that older adults can be an often isolated population in a community. So as an organization, that might mean visiting places where older adults congregate, where they gather. Houses of worship are an example, community centers or older adult centers as well. And that's where the importance of a needs assessment really comes into play. And a needs assessment is beneficial for a variety of reasons. As we spoke about, your community needs are ever changing, and a needs assessment allows you to adapt to those changes and to then steer resources or direct your resources to meet your current challenges. And that's where potential partnerships can be very beneficial, for example. So thinking, more contemporarily, if you're looking to serve asylum seekers, but don't have the established rapport with that population, partnering with an organization that does could help you meet the needs of that population. So that's just one example of many examples where a partnership could be really beneficial for you. So getting started. This is a list of considerations as you're starting to put together a needs assessment. So some things to consider: your organization's depth of knowledge, your current network and relationships, the information that you already know based on your experience as a community leader, and the ongoing dialogue that you are privy to. And lastly, the urgency of the moment. So urgency of the moment would mean the issue areas that are of top priority right now. So for your organization, recruitment of volunteers to support asylum seekers might elicit an urgent response. Or during the COVID pandemic, for example, food access was an urgency of the moment situation that your organization may have needed to respond to. And now I would like to kind of turn it over to everyone in the audience to get some engagement going. If everyone could just take a couple minutes to think about how your organization could more effectively surface community needs. And then I would love to hear from a couple people. So maybe just to answer the question, how do you currently reach members of the community? And how could you maybe better reach community members as an organization? Does anyone have any ideas on how they could better reach community members? Let's see, who do I see in there? Vanessa or Andrea, do you have any ideas?
Good afternoon. I think depending on your nonprofit organization, networking is key. Having
Absolutely.
yourself attend different community organizations. If you affiliated with PTAs, or if you're affiliated with church-based organizations, anywhere where you could speak about your particular business or organization helps getting the word out.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And we're going to talk about networking a bit more in our next session. But networking is critical, and I think even utilizing the people in this room is really helpful. This is a great networking opportunity to get together with members of other nonprofits, and to bounce ideas and to make a partnership that way.
And if I can add, having a business card, a lot of times you speak to folks and they want your information, but you don't have a card or something to an exchange where they can reach you.
Right. So
Making
having
that type of investment.
absolutely. Thank you,
And
Vanessa.
Logan, oh, yes. And Logan, I want to bring your attention to the chat. We have a couple answers there as well. People have mentioned social media, partner with organizations that directly impact the community you serve, health and community fairs. You can conduct focus groups geared towards the target population, local small businesses through events in the community. And we have one example here that Malika Inc. We like to meet community members where they're at and host program at mosques, pubs, public schools, and at other organization spaces across the city. So those are some of the suggestions offered in the chat. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for that, everyone. All right, and we're going to keep going for the sake of time. So just a few points here to ensure meaningful input from your community. So when you're looking for community input, I think the most important thing to note, transparency and open dialogue are key. Also being open to praise and criticism. This is really how you grow and learn from those that you're serving. So just a few tips here to make note of. And then this is just a way for you to develop a question set for your own organization and for your own reflection. So this is just a starting point for structuring dialogue. And you obviously can take this back to your teams and to build upon it. But you want to make sure that you are choosing questions that are relevant and that initiate thoughtful conversation. So what community needs are met well? Who is meeting them and how? Are there certain groups that are not receiving sufficient support? And if so, what is preventing them from receiving the support they need? And that leads me into our next tool, which is about mapping your community assets. And so in the last section, we talked about addressing your community needs and gaps. And this section will move toward addressing your strengths and your assets. Okay, so an assets-based approach, what is it? So an assets-based approach recognizes the community's strengths and looks to uncover potential resources and opportunities and make connections to identified needs. Why would you want to craft an assets-based approach? Because a community deepens its self-awareness and builds its own capacity to solve challenges. So you are experts on your own community. And how do you go about creating your assets-based approach? Community organizations tap into existing neighborhood assets and, where relevant, are able to meet key needs and expand their capacity. So this is a strengths-based approach. And this is what allows you to evaluate what other resources exist within your community, especially ones that your organization can leverage. So for example, volunteers are a great community asset. And that's what our third session really gets into. And asset mapping So this is a resource to help you identify your existing assets and to facilitate potential connections. So with asset mapping, you can begin to think about, what your community is able to bring to the table, or what your organization is able to bring to the table to benefit your community. And this is an asset mapping tool. So this will be available online on our website for you to take back and really get detailed with your teams. But I'm just going to run through the steps of an asset map with some examples of what you could potentially put down. So in step 1, you'll see define the geographical boundary of the neighborhood that you plan to serve. So an example of this could be my organization will work with East Harlem on food access. And then in step 2, you want to create a list of organizations and individuals in your community that might help you achieve your mission. So thinking about all the different types of assets that exist in your community, how you might ask for support. And then, as I said, you want to do this periodically because resources do evolve over time. And then in step 3 of your asset map, so you would outline the specific priority asset. So for example, if you would like to focus on institutions within your neighborhood, you might look to college students as your priority asset. And college students, the institution that they come from would be the local universities. So those would be the potential partners that you would want to reach out to. And then in step 4, you're clarifying what the partner could do to help support or complement your work. So a partnership can forward the work of my organization. In this instance, more volunteer power to assist with food distribution events. And then how a partnership can forward the potential partner's work. So on the flip side of that. And an example here could be that your organization is then able to provide a service opportunity to college students. This would involve potentially credit hours, volunteer hours for those college students. So it's a beneficial relationship for all parties. And now moving on to self-assessment and making a plan. So some key takeaways from this section: understanding your organization's role, and then envisioning a path forward, and your plan to increase organizational capacity. And then we have a few tools as well. So we have a reflection activity on your organization, visioning activity, and then crafting a how might we question. So we've been looking externally at the community, and now we're going to look more internally on how to build support that way. And these are just some strategies for building internal support and being able to navigate change as smoothly as possible. So some suggestions here: think about how you can engage your employees in the decision-making process, because this is how you're able to alleviate concerns about change. And ultimately, that's how you promote buy-in with employees and with volunteers. And then also making an effort to reassure people by sharing your information freely and asking for input where possible. And something else to note here is to implement change in several stages rather than all at once. This also contributes to buy-in from your personnel and employees, and that they don't feel blindsided by organizational changes. And then reflecting on organizational needs and assets. So these are, again, starting point questions. You should definitely build on them based on where your organization is and where you want to go. But this is meant to help you reflect on your organization very similarly to how we were talking about reflecting on your community. And you want to make sure that you're asking these questions on a regular basis. So what has our organization done well to address community needs? What needs are we ill-equipped to meet? And are there gaps in our organization's capacity? So this is really just to help you get thinking about where there are gaps organizationally. So I'd love to hear out from a couple of people again, specifically on what your organization's core competencies are that you're uniquely positioned to offer. I think this is something that's really important to identify as an organization. What makes you unique, and what do you bring to the table that makes you unique? So I'd love to hear from a couple people if you have ideas on that.
Hey guys, I'm Milani from MMCC here in the Bronx, Marshall Montefiore Community Center. I think what makes us unique is that we really encompass all different age groups in our organization. We serve anywhere from what we say is 0 to 103, meaning we have services for pregnant women, we have Head Start and UPK programs for preschoolers and families. We have social service departments that deal with all New York City benefits. We have crisis centers. We have youth. I mean, it can go on and on. We have a pantry. So we do utilize volunteers a lot. We utilize a lot of universities. We have great relationships, and we're always making relationships with different universities to come to do exactly what you said. It's a twofold benefit. So they come and they help us out, and we help fill out paperwork to give them the service hours they need. We have medical students. We have nursing students, high school students. And then sometimes we have just highly skilled people who've retired and wanna help our community. So I think the fact that our organization doesn't specify that we just deal with one community, the fact that we deal with such a diverse span of ages and needs kind of helps us set us apart.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Melanie. Did anyone have anything else they'd like to share? All right.
Loki, there is one answer in the chat. I don't know if we have time for that.
Okay, great. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's from Caroline. Because our organization operates worldwide, we're able to connect with asylum seekers throughout their international journey into the US and administer really comprehensive services. Similarly, because we have been around for so long in the NYC area, many people whose family are helped by us come back to volunteer with us. That's awesome. If you want to share more, please do. These are all incredible.
Thank you everyone for sharing out. All right, and we're going to move into our final section. So this is envisioning the path forward. And this section is really about taking, all of the reflection that you've done, and thinking about how to put that in action going forward. So once you've established your organizational assets, your potential limitations, where do you go from there, and where do you take this new information? So in conjunction with the reflection questions, we're gonna do a visioning activity that offers a quick temperature check on what you might want to evolve at your organization. And this is just an overview of this reflection activity for you to take back to your teams. But what we're going to do essentially is look at the current state of your organization and kind of the feelings and words that come up with, you know, when you think about the current state of your organization, and then also looking at a year from now and what you would like to have come to mind when you think about your organization a year from now. So step one, if everyone could just reflect for a moment and think about a few honest words that come to mind when you think about your organization's current approach to addressing community needs. So to kind of help get the juices flowing, you want to think about this from different perspectives. So thinking about it from the perspective of a staff member or someone who is volunteering with your organization, or community members who are maybe new to your organization. And also something to note is to be honest in your choice of words. So thinking about the things that are positive that come to mind, and then also thinking about maybe some limitations. So for example, you might think consistent, you might think passionate, but you might also think understaffed. So there are, you know, both sides to the coin, and this is supposed to be an authentic reflection activity. So if we could just utilize the chat for this one, and feel free to jot down any words that come to mind when you think about the current state of your organization, and we'll monitor the chat and reflect on it. So I'd love to hear from a few people. You can just share in the chat, no need to speak out in the group, but just any words that come to mind when you think of your organization.
We have some words in the chat, Logan.
Great.
Yes, we have collaborative, earnest, interested, necessary, innovative, connected, resourceful, kid-friendly, good hours, open, understaffed, underutilized, under capacity,
Wonderful.
create, understanding, sharing, developing, empathetic, intergenerational, entrepreneurial, persevering.
These are great words.
Yes, they are.
Okay, wonderful. And then we're just going to move on to thinking about words that come to mind that you would hope come to mind a year from now. And again, thinking about it from all angles, from a staff perspective, from a volunteer perspective, from the perspective of potential funders. And please share out in the chat.
Yes, we have a couple more words. More organized, funding, more staff needed, more space needed, utilize, engage, impactful, robust, effectively resourced, leadership supported, better funded, own space, more clients, recognized by the community, innovative, reactive. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for sharing out, everyone. I think that's just a really great way to get you thinking It may seem very simple, but just putting it in writing can be really helpful and transformative. And I'd love to hear out from anyone on that reflecting activity. So maybe what are the key differences that you see between the current state and future state? And what are the themes or common responses that you see from the group? And I'd love to hear from 2 or 3 people. And feel free to use the chat, or you can unmute and introduce yourself.
Well, I think I have a couple responses here. Fatima has shared that good to have a word to go with the vision. Carolina shared organized, impactful, made a difference. By Melissa.
Absolutely. And I love what Fatima said about like it's good to have a word to go with your vision for sure. It helps to kind of make things more concrete in that way. Definitely. And something that I just noted, the difference between you know, your current state and your future state. Obviously, it seems that future state adjectives tend to be more positive. I think some words that stuck out to me were innovative, robust, well utilized. All right, so we can keep going. Thank you guys for participating. And now we're going to talk about your plan to increase organizational capacity. So before jumping into a plan, you want to make sure that you're taking time to pause and create, you know, a well thought out plan to prepare your organization to evolve. And that is a way to ensure that you are bringing your envisioning practices to life, you know, in the most constructive way possible. And so we are nearing the end of our first session, but I did want everyone to have a chance to, you know, get together and speak with one another. So this is going to be a reflection activity in separate breakout rooms, and it's going to be on crafting a how might we question. So how might we questions are a great way to begin the planning process and to initiate collective brainstorming with your staff. And these questions are great for creating actionable steps. So this is how you see, you know, real systemic change happen in your organization. And so these are some examples of how might we questions. So something that might be a bit too broad. How might we get volunteers to return? That might not be specific enough for a how might we question. Too narrow, how might we provide food for volunteers at project sites so that they will be encouraged to participate again? And then a question that seems just right to me, how might we create a welcoming environment that will encourage volunteers to return? So you want to create a question that is narrow enough to come up with solutions, but also broad enough to encourage people to kind of ideate more freely. So these are some steps you can think through with your staff just to have it outlined very clearly. But this is what we'll be doing in our breakout rooms. So you'll see on the left side, we have our how might we question. And that can really be anything that comes to mind for you and your plan to better your organization. And then on the right side, there are just potential ideas and solutions that might feel the most important to you. So I'll give everybody a few minutes to brainstorm on your how might we question. So try to pick one theme or challenge that you think that your organization needs to work on, create your question. And then once you have that, brainstorm 2 to 3 responses for the solutions in response to your how might we question. So I'll give everybody about 3 minutes to do that. And then I will open up breakout rooms for you to discuss with one another. And then just so that everyone's aware, so once you're in your group, if you could share your name, your organization, as well as your how might we question, and then you just should share one of your responses. So I'm going to open up the breakout rooms. Welcome back to the main group, everyone. I hope that was constructive for you all. Sorry if there wasn't enough time. We're just a little pressed for time today, a lot of content to get through. But I would just love to hear back from a couple of you on how that went, and how it was crafting your question and the responses or ideas that you came up with. Or maybe any feedback that you got from the other group members.
This is Melissa Marcus. I'm with Alpha Phi Alpha Center. Yeah, it really wasn't a lot of time, but it does seem like many of us are struggling with the same issues. So once it's out there, we're looking for answers, but everybody seems to be having the same questions and issues. So just a matter of, I guess, trying to support each other.
Absolutely. And I just really encourage you all to share your contact information with one another to maintain those partnerships. Would anyone else besides Melissa like to share out about the group activity?
We have an answer on the chat, Logan.
Okay.
It's from Renee. Thank you for the session and great working with everyone in the breakout room. Receiving great feedback on my question of attracting and retaining teen audiences and cultivating sustainable relationships. Looking forward for future sessions. Have a great afternoon.
That's great to hear. I'm glad that that was a positive experience for you, Renee. All right, so for the sake of time, we're just gonna finish out our last slide. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware the next 2 sessions will cover strategic partnerships and how to cultivate those partnerships successfully. And then our last session will be on volunteer engagement. So the recruitment, recognition, all of that. So the whole volunteer engagement process. And I know that we're about at time, but I am happy to answer any questions that you might have from a couple people. And as always, you can email me with future questions, and I will give you my contact information.
I have a question.
Yes.
I know that you're recording this for those that weren't in attendance, but would you be able to send the rest of us the recording as well? or the link to it?
Yes, absolutely. Well, the recording, I'm not sure that I'm able to share on our website, but I could share the PowerPoints themselves if that's helpful. They will be posted on the website as well.
Thank you.
If there are no further questions, I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming today. This is my contact information, and make sure to register on our website to get volunteer engagement with your organization.
Thank you, everybody. And if you happen to have any issues while registering on our website, I'm going to put in my contact information again so you can reach out to me.
Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a great day.